Hi, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words about XCulture. We exist to prepare essentially the new generation of leaders for the globalized world. So, what XCulture does is it teaches students how to do business with people from other cultures in a multicultural world. And the best way to explain what we do in more detail is to kind of give you a historic perspective, where we came from, what happened along the way, and where we are going. So XCulture was launched in 2010. At that time, I started teaching international business at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and I found myself in this difficult situation where I would come to the classroom and I would be telling my students that doing business, for example, with Ukrainians or Germans is different than doing business with Americans. And my students wouldn't quite understand what I'm saying. So it's not that they didn't believe me, but it's as if I was trying to teach them how to swim on a football field. You need to get in the water to understand and learn how to swim. Same thing here. You need practical experience with people from other cultures to understand cultural differences. And so I didn't know how to add that practical component to my lectures. So I thought maybe I could find a professor in a different country who also teaches international business. And maybe we can take that professor's students and my students, put them in global virtual teams so that they are multicultural teams. And so this way, when I talk in the classroom about cultural differences, they know it. They work with people from a different culture. When I'm talking about the challenges of working across the time zones, they know it. They work with people in other time zones, institutional differences, language differences, so they can experience all of that in real life. And so one day I simply sent out an email through the Academy of International Business asking if any of my colleagues would like to work with me on this project. I went home, I had my dinner. Before going to sleep, I checked my email, dozens of responses. So the first time we did it, we had seven countries, seven universities, about 400 students. But it probably was the right idea at the right time, because ever since we would literally pretty much double in size, at least the number of applications every year. I remember the time when we were thinking, okay, 1,000 would be a manageable number. More, no, we won't do that. But then, okay, well, maybe let's take 2,000, but no more. Well, maybe 3,000, but no more. This semester we had 5,000, so the number of applicants is growing. So this semester, for example, we had about 5,000 students from 160 universities in 43 countries, all six continents represented. We never had participants from Antarctica, but hopefully one day, I know there are some scientists there, so maybe one of them will participate. So, but in the initial stages, the XCulture project was all about culture. So we take those students and place them in global virtual teams so that each team is comprised of about 7 people, each one in a different country. And we would give them a hypothetical case to work on. And so we didn't really care that much about the task itself. So it was all about experience of working with people from other cultures. But then interesting things started happening. So in 2007, in 2013, one of our professors was doing some project with Mercedes-Benz. They were trying to develop some marketing campaign for their buses and trucks. And as I understand, they were brainstorming ideas, slogans, I don't know. And the professor says, hey, maybe we should ask the XCulture students. They have all those MBA students, business students all around the world. Maybe they'll come up with something interesting. And so we tried, and it worked well. We had a meeting at Mercedes-Benz. Even at some point, I think we brought about 30, 20 students. I have a photo somewhere in there. So those are photos from all of the companies that we visited. But anyway, so we had a bunch of students at their factory. They were impressed with our solutions. Students liked the challenge. And at that time, we thought, hey, maybe in addition to just asking students to work on something in international teams, we can give them a real consulting project. And so ever since we did. So we would select about a dozen companies that represent different countries and different industries. And so we would have, like this semester, about 1,000 teams. And so they could choose any client they want, and they would spend that semester students solving real life problems for real life clients. So this way, we're giving students two things here. On the one hand, we're giving them the international experience. On the other hand, we give them the business consulting experience. So the students have webinars with the CEOs. They work on a real life challenge. They have all the information from the company to work on that challenge. So they interact with managers, they think like managers, and then they present their real life solution. And we've seen some of those ideas implemented in real life. So when students will graduate and either manage a business or maybe have their own company, they will know better how to work with people from different cultures, how to approach business, how to solve problems. In fact, some teams even formed businesses. We will have a meeting in a few weeks in Canada. And so several students who participated in XCulture a couple of years ago started a business. One of those students is from the United States, one from Ghana, one from Ukraine, and they're flying in together just to meet about their business. So they're using this opportunity to further develop their business practices. So all of that happens. Now, the universities benefit from that because students are learning new things, students are happier, and we actually did a study to see if XCulture makes a difference. Several professors teach, like myself, multiple sections of the course, international business course. So we would have XCulture in some course sections and no XCulture in other course sections. And we looked at student performance, satisfaction, course evaluations, learning, and actually students who have XCulture are happier, doing better on the exams, are more interested in interacting with people from other cultures, cultural intelligence improves, all kinds of good things happen. For companies, it's also a wonderful opportunity. So first and foremost, they get ideas from literally thousands of young, smart people. If they wanted to hire a group like this, like tomorrow, these people will graduate. Most of them will be making a lot of money. So to hire them in a couple of years will be extremely expensive. Today, the companies get that advice essentially for free. So we always welcome sponsorship, but I mean, basically it's free. And so the ideas often are very useful. And it's important to say here that it's not really that the students are this smart. I mean, students are smarter than businessmen. No, that's, students, some are smart, some are, less smart. The value comes from the volume, from the numbers. For example, if one consultant tells you that the best new market for your country is, let's say, China, well, that's one thing. But if you have a few hundred teams working on your challenge, and all of them or most of them say that China is the best market for you, they've done their research and that's the conclusion they came to, that's a viable, useful information. Or if one person tells you that your product should cost $100, that's one thing. But if a large group of consultants does research, they give each independently the recommendation, and most of them recommend a price around $100, that means something. Second, it's, hiring such a large group of consultants, it's like sending ants in every possible direction to look for food. So if there was somebody on the street who dropped a candy, an ant will find it and tell the rest of the group. Same thing here. Just by sheer serendipity, by sheer chance, somebody in a large group like this, somebody is bound to know something or know somebody that is needed for this solution. For example, I'll give you an example. So we have a company, one of the companies that does business with universities. They develop software for universities. And so they were looking for markets. And one of the students literally comes and says, okay, so the market you want to conquer is, and it's an African country. But to do business in this African country, you need a blessing of this person. Here is his name, here is his phone number. Without his blessing, nobody is going to do business in education in this country. With his blessing, you will be basically a monopoly in the market. Incidentally, this man is my cousin. Tell him that you're calling from me. Everything will be working fine. And so they tried, and everything's working fine. Now, it's not that I'm promoting nepotism or corruption here. I'm just saying that sometimes somebody may know something that is needed for that solution. Maybe the person read a relevant book, and that, oh, that's actually relevant for this case. Maybe they've heard something on the news. Maybe they saw a similar business in a different country and borrow that idea and build upon it. So when you have so many people, even when 9 out of 10 ideas are useless, one always is extremely useful. Now, other things started happening in XCulture after we kind of built up this main core program which is all about international experience and consulting. So, for example, many students wanted to participate multiple times, and they would ask me, can I participate again? Can I participate again? And we would allow them to participate multiple times. In fact, we had some who participated 2, 3, 4 times. But then we thought, hey, why do we ask them to do the same thing again and again? Maybe let's give them additional training and maybe make them coaches for the new generation of X-Culture students. So this is how we launched the X-Culture coaching program about 3, 4 years ago. So the way it works is that the best students from the last semester receive additional training for about a month. So they have to take 16 training modules on how to resolve conflicts, how to provide effective feedback, how to do team counseling, how to manage teams. And then if they pass the coaching test, they become coaches, mentors, kind of managers for the new generation of X-Culture students. So this way, the coaches gain experience of managing hundreds of international teams. I mean, this is the type of experience that even seasoned managers often don't have. Here we give them that experience. But by gaining this experience, by managing, mentoring those teams, they also help us. So for me, that's basically free help. So we would select about 50 of those coaches, and they do a good job. While learning, they also help in the project. Then another interesting development is the X-Culture Kids program. So from the very beginning, many professors would ask if their children can participate. I have a kid, he's 15 years old, very smart, very good kid. Can he or she participate in the project? And obviously, there is a big difference between a kid who is 15 versus an MBA student who is 28, right? So I would first say, no, we don't take kids. It's only for students, university students. But then we thought, hey, maybe we should try. And so we tried a couple of years ago with about 20 students first. Then we had about 100. And then this one, the semester, that was the third round. So we actually did some open advertisement, allowed everyone to apply, got about 2,000 applications, selected about 1,000 students from 76 countries, ages 10 to 17. And they participated in X-Culture just like everybody else. Turns out even the little kids can benefit from it greatly. So they enjoy working with people from other cultures. My own kids participated in X-Culture. I wanted to kind of see it from the inside. And I was amazed. I mean, my daughter at that time, she was 11 the first time, and then 12 the next year. So they literally, like would wake up at 6 a.m. for a Skype meeting with the team because she had some team members in India and in China somewhere. So they had to go with this kind of strange hour. She would know about it herself. She would wake up. She would look forward to those meetings. They would, talk about business, but also about other things. Very, very useful. I mean, obviously, parents have to help those younger kids, but again, it's a bonding experience. I had to teach my kids, for example, how to use email. They always text. They only text, so they didn't know how to write full-length emails and reports. I had to show them how, but that's how they learn. That's how they learn. In the X-Culture Kids, most of the applicants are from kind of ages 15 to 17. So while we have some younger participants, most of them are kind of pre-college youth. And so they participate in the project primarily as a way to prepare for university, for college, as a way to improve their resume before they start applying to college. So they're trying to put an experience on the resume that nobody has. And it helps. It helps. I can't count how many reference letters I have written to the students as they applying for scholarships and going to colleges. And then how many letters I get back and saying, oh, yes, I got admitted. Thank you so much. So it makes me very proud and very happy. So so we even have some 16, 17-year-olds who will be applying like literally in a few months. And so it's a good experience for them, good experience for us. Everybody wins. Finally, research is a very, very big deal for X-Culture. So we obviously having all those teams, we want to know why some teams do better than others, why some people are more effective members of international teams than others. Is it cultural intelligence? Is it IQ? Is it emotional intelligence? Is it prior experience? Is it language proficiency? Do bigger teams do better than smaller teams? Do more diverse teams do better than less diverse teams? Do MBA students perform better than undergraduate students? All kinds of interesting questions that are important and have special, important managerial applications. So we collect a lot of data, multi-level. So we have data on people, on teams, on universities, on countries, multi-source. Some data comes from what students tell us in surveys, peer evaluations, expert evaluations, academic records. So it's a multi-source big database. Longitudinal, so we collect data every week and we can see how things develop over time, number of conflicts, the way they communicate, leadership structure in the team. So all of that allows us to kind of monitor teams very closely and do a lot of research. And we have published dozens of papers. We have, I think it's 6 dissertations defended based on the X-Culture data now, and we have dozens and dozens of projects in development. A few times a year, we even organize this X-Culture research marathon, or as we call it, hackathon. And so bring some of the students. In fact, I'm flying in a few hours to Copenhagen for one of those research hackathons. So we'll have 18 professors from 12 countries. Basically lock ourselves on a campus of a university, and for a few days nonstop we do research. We analyze the data, we're trying to answer questions, trying to write papers. A very effective way to do research, in addition to all the other kind of more traditional approaches that we use. Moving forward, we also have some ideas for the new things that we want to do. And again, we always seek collaboration, we always seek help. So if you would like to get involved, let me know. So for example, many students, after the project is over, send me their business plans for ideas that they have, in general for life. And they would say, hey, professor, would you take a look at this business plan? Do you think it's a good business idea? Do you think it can go somewhere? So I'm thinking about launching this sort of like an incubator or a competition/incubator that we want to call MVP prize, minimum viable product prize, where we would provide the students with a foundation, kind of all the legal support and accounting support. And so have sort of like a competition of business plans, but we wouldn't just fund the best business plan right away, but instead we would have them a competition through multiple stages of development, the initial ideas would be further developed. Maybe co-founder teams will be formed, maybe the ideas will be changed and improved so that the final idea, the final business plan that wins is a much, much better idea than what initially was submitted to the competition. And then we would use our funds and maybe sponsorship to offer money to develop the minimum viable product so that the company can go through that, as they call it, death valley. So the idea is easy. Usually the idea dies because the company doesn't have the resources to build the first product, to show it to the potential customers and to test it, to show it to the investors. And so that's the stage where we want to help. It's kind of like angel investment / competition. Another important idea that we want to also implement, business idea, is what I call virtual TA. So I get literally hundreds of emails every semester from students who say, hey, professor, I will be applying to graduate programs, and I would like to impress the selection committee by showing them that I already have teaching and research experience. So can I help you as your teaching assistant or research assistant? Do you need any help with, I don't know, processing data or maybe grading homework of your students or anything else that teaching and research assistants do? And I use their help sometimes, but there are many, many more that I can use. So I have a crowd of students who are seeking experience, who are seeking a mentor so that they can go apply to PhD programs, maybe master's programs, and have that experience before they apply. On the other hand, we have a lot of professors who need that help. And not only X-Culture professors, I mean, any professor could use some help from students, right? So we want to build this platform that we call virtual TA, which would be sort of like Uber or Airbnb for teaching assistants. So on the one hand, are talented students, verified students who are seeking experience. On the other hand, professors, verified, real professors at real universities who need help. And so they can meet here, help each other. One side offers time and help and brains. The other side offers mentorship and guidance and reference letter, and maybe even pays for the services. I mean, if a professor feels compelled to pay, why not? We can offer that option. And maybe even scores each other, okay, this student is a 5-star student. This one is a 4-star student. This professor is a 5-star mentor. So this way, maybe even when students will be applying to graduate programs, not only will they show on the resume that they have this experience, but the selection committee can go to virtual TA and check out the ratings of the students. Is he really as interested in research and teaching as he or she told us in the application? So we'll see how that goes. In all of those directions, XCulture, the virtual program, XCulture Kids, XCulture MVP Prize, we always are open for collaboration. So we organize twice a year a big XCulture symposium. The next one will be in Canada in a few weeks. Last one was in Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States. Before that, it was Macerata, Italy. So that's where we bring our best students and our partner companies and everybody, lots of interesting ideas floating around. So we are always open to collaboration. So if any of you would like to work with us, let me know. We are very open to collaboration. We always need good people. We always seek out good organizations and universities. So let's talk and let's see what we can do together. All right. Thank you so much.